Hey guys, so I just wanted to make a quick video describing how these LED strips are going to work. This is a depot LED housing. Here is a OEM LED outer tail light. So this is a OEM Hella. And I bought this because it's damaged. I was going to open it up and repair it, but the lens is cracked. So I'm actually not even going to repair that anymore. But it'll serve as a good example. So to install these, you have to remove this little cover piece, which prevents water from getting into your car. There are 3 little tabs right here, and just a screwdriver will pop those out. I've actually removed this so many times that I ended up breaking one of these little tabs on here, but if you're careful, you can remove this a bunch of times without breaking anything. So what's supposed to happen is that's supposed to pop out, and then these 2 tabs, the one right there and the one right there, are supposed to look the same, but this one's broken. They slide under those little tabs on the housing like that. So that'll pull out, and again, that shouldn't break unless you're kind of rough with it, or if you do it a bunch of times, and I've taken this off probably 10 times. So now that this is off, right here is where you need to cut a hole to insert the LED strip. The easiest method is to just melt a hole with a soldering iron and then seal it back up with liquid electrical tape. There's another method, which is cutting a little hole in it with a Dremel, for example, but that's kind of risky, and you have to know what you're doing, because if you accidentally get a bunch of plastic pieces, little bits of the plastic in the taillight housing, that's not going to look good. You're going to see little bits of plastic bouncing around in there. So use extreme caution if you're going to go that route. But what's easiest is if you just take a soldering iron, which I already have hot right here. So soldering iron goes right through. Definitely try not to breathe those fumes in. And this is a pretty bad cut because I'm just kind of rushing through it. No one's gonna see this anyway, because that cover that we just took off is gonna go right back on afterwards. And I'll show you what it looks like after it's sealed back up with liquid electrical tape, because it really doesn't look bad at all. But again, no one's gonna see that, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So as you can see, it's really easy cutting through this with the soldering iron. And now I have this little sample LED strip that I can kind of stick in there. And I'm just going to put the plastic casing in there because I want to still use that LED strip. So I made a mark on here of how long my LED strips are. So it goes from here to right here. That's how long my design strip is. So insert it like that, slide it in, and that's where it hits right there. And you can see the length is perfect. So there's going to be just a tiny bit poking out, which is what you want, so that it's really held in place really well on this side. If the entire strip was inside the taillight housing and there was only the 2 wires hanging out, it would be held by the wires basically, which is not how I'd want it. So it's going to stick out just a tiny bit, and then what you're going to do is take liquid electrical tape and you're just going to dab it along both sides. You could probably be more clean about it than I'm being right now, since I have one hand and I'm trying to do this quickly. But as you can see, it's nice and thick, and it takes up a lot of room. And as long as you can't see any holes in there and you have a couple layers on there, it'll be good to go. That'll dry mostly in about 15 to 20 minutes, but it's not fully dried and cured until maybe 24 hours afterwards. I wouldn't really trust it. Your housing's not going to get hot enough to reach the melting temperature of that liquid electrical tape, and it is waterproof, so it's completely sealed off. I will go and show you the other one that I have, and it's been sealed up for probably close to a year, and it still looks like the day I sealed it back up. So that's what it looks like. It just hardens. It's still like a little soft, but it's completely waterproof. And then the LED strip's just gonna have 2 wires coming out, and they're just gonna tap into the yellow one for the power, which is for the turn signal, and a brown one for the ground. And that's all you're gonna need to tap into. You don't have to cut them and solder into them. You can just use a posi tap, which is what this looks like. So for the posi tap, just for a little quick demonstration, the wire that comes off the LED strip will go into this small end. You just strip the wire and you just put it right through. And you tighten that back down. And then the other side has a pointy end. The yellow one, for example, we would tap into by sticking that on there. And then you just screw that pointy end right onto there. So again, there'll be 2 wires coming off that LED strip. You're gonna tap them both in here. You can use posi taps, you can solder them in, doesn't really matter. And then to change the patterns, which you saw in the last video, all you'll do is double tap your hazards button. So you're just gonna click it twice. That'll make your hazards come on only once, and the LED strip will know to switch the pattern to the next pattern. So I'm only gonna have probably five or 6 of the favorite patterns, maybe more if you guys want. I mean, I can do as many as I want, but I don't want to overload you and have you sitting here for, you know, 3 minutes double tapping this, and then to realize that you missed the one you wanted by 1, and then you have to sit here for another couple minutes. And lastly, the reason I can't make a good video with the final product in the taillight housing is because, so this is the strip that was in the second video, and it is a final version, but the final version will be on a flexible board instead of this hard board. And instead of all these wires, none of these wires will be here at all. There'll just be a little chip right here that's soldered on that does all the work of this. So none of this will be here. These wires I can have come out a little bit more straight. But again, this will be on a flexible board because the housing is curved and I can't stick this straight board in there. This is a completely taken apart housing. This just demonstrates how the LED strips are held in place. So they are going to come through this hole again. So this is the back side. That's where you're going to cut the hole. They're going to slide in here. They're going to be pushed up against the lens. So they're going to be held in place there. And then they're going to come, they're going to hit right around here, and that's where they're going to stop. And it won't be able to come this way because it's this little diffuser reflector is right here. And it's going to be held in place here by the liquid electrical tape. So it will be nice and held in place. You can't use these on the stock halogen bulbs. This little plastic piece that you have to take off is not removable on these OEM halogens. It is removable on both the depots and on the OEM LEDs. Oh, and one more note about these depots is that this earlier model actually had it inserted from the other way. So I didn't insert it from this way, I inserted it from this side. You can put it in that way, just that the LED strips are held in place a little bit better if you put it in from the other way. Because if you put it in from this way, it can come over here and the LED strip might kind of fall away from the lens a little bit. It might kind of back off a little bit. Whereas if you put it over here, it's going to be held in place by this reflector. That'll wrap it up. And I just want to say thank you to you guys who have reached out asking about the LED strips. I'm probably going to post some other videos about my car and the big turbo stuff that's going on right now. So stay tuned if you want to see any of that. I'm really looking forward to getting these out to you guys.